2024 has been a pretty bleak year to be a video game fan. Everywhere you look this year, it just kinda seems like more bad news happens. Yeah, we've had a few good games, but it just seems like in every direction that you look, there's some bad news to look at. We've had studio closures, some of the biggest failures of all time, rushed games. There just seems to be controversies happening all the time. And while a lot of games were heavily anticipated, some delivering, some doing badly, I don't think many people had the expectation that Astro Bot would be as big as it is. Because this might just be it. The games industry might be healing.
You are healed. I have healed you.
And I know that sounds dramatic. I don't think this game is immediately going to spark everything back to life and get everyone their jobs back. But I think the success of this game might lead to more trends in the gaming space that are better. The thing is, when you look online, the gaming community seems to be full of spoiled people. People complain about everything, but then when something isn't from an established franchise, they won't buy it. If you read any comment section, it's all negative. If I ever met any of these people in real life, I'd headbutt them. So it's kinda nice to see. 2024 is a dumpster full of live service games, rushed games, bad games, somehow both at once with one of them. But it's nice to see a silly, not taking itself seriously, shorter game that isn't from an established franchise do incredibly well. Astro Bot is a sequel to Astro's Playroom, which was literally just a tech demo that came with the PS5. It's a 3D platformer, which since around the PS2 era, isn't really something Sony have dipped their toes in. But clearly they haven't lost their talent because this game is absolutely fantastic. It reminds me of Mario Odyssey in the sense of the adventure. Around every corner in this game, there is some little package of joy to uncover. The whole shtick of this game is you've got to collect all the Astro Bots, and every single bot is an established PlayStation character. Or at least a PlayStation adjacent character. So if this is your first ever PlayStation game, you're getting an absolutely cracking platformer. But if this isn't your first PlayStation game and you've played loads before, every bot you find and you recognise is an instant hit of serotonin that in this bleak, awful year for video games reminds me that, oh my god, these things are fun. Like my smile when I saw the Leon Kennedy one. That's amazing. The whole concept of a silly game, you know, a game that doesn't take itself seriously, isn't a dark, gripping narrative like so many games try to be. And don't get me wrong, I like these games, but the idea of something sillier and less serious dies every year. It used to be something that existed on every console, you know, Crash Bandicoot, think of that. But now it just seems like that genre is owned by Nintendo. PlayStation and Xbox don't really seem to dip into it anymore. And again, I love most of these PlayStation exclusives, but they are a bit too serious sometimes. Sometimes you gotta remember the essence of a video game is just to be fun. Some of these games take themselves so seriously and want to be such deep experiences that they're reaching around 50 hours on average, so I think it's really nice just to have a 10-hour fun little game to play. I don't always want to save the world against the dark disease destroying it. Sometimes I just want to be a funny robot man and go on my funny robot adventures. Unlike the live service crap we've been given over and over again, this game seems like it was made with passion. This is where I talk about Concord, because of course I do. I'm not saying Concord wasn't made with passion. I'm sure there's so many people who worked their ass off on this game, but it just seemed doomed to failure from the start. This doesn't seem like a live service game. I'm sure some corporate cynicism made them make this. Because I think it's sad. There's definitely a good game in here, but just look at them character designs, no one's gonna want to play this. And considering how heavily pushed Concord was, only for it to shut down in 2 weeks, that was the basket Sony were putting their eggs into, and I don't think they expected Astro Bot to be the winner of these two games. Which I think is a great thing, because in the gaming space right now, we are getting a new live service game, and let's face it, most of them aren't good, every other week or so. So maybe the rampant success of Astro Bot compared to a major flop like Concord is gonna make these gaming companies look around and go, hey, there's a market for this sort of thing. There's a market for shorter, sillier, not online, not constantly shoving microtransactions down your throat, that type of experience. And even if you don't like games like Astro Bot, I've seen people complaining when people have gone, Astro Bot is a genuine Game of the Year contender, which it is. Even if you don't like these sort of games, this should be a good thing, because we're gonna get less live service. If companies see the success of Astro Bot, they're gonna think, okay, people don't just want live service, they want variety, they want something different. And that's what I mean when this game is a catalyst for something new. It's not going to change the gaming industry, but if people buy this game, which they have been, I think it's going to get noticed that we want something different. Considering it's been a wild week to own a PlayStation with Concord's failure and the absolute fart that was the PS5 Pro, it's nice to have a W, especially from an unexpected, cutesy place. That's not to say there's not drawbacks with this game though. It's kind of marketed as a celebration of the PS5 and what it can do, but when you look at all the bots in this game, there aren't really many from PS5 games. There's not actually much to celebrate with the PS5. Like, I like this console, but it really hasn't delivered quite like previous PlayStations have. But what do you think? Have you played Astro Bot? And are you optimistic for the future of not only this series, but PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, their output in the future? Because I think this sends a real message to the gaming space. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe, because my content is just as good as the Leon bot flossing. And I'll see you in the next one.